All right, our Storm Center, the live stream version. We've got our team assembled. Melinda Singh, Nadine Powell, and on location, Jacqueline Woodall. I'm Chris Murphy, and well, Jacqueline, we'll start with you because this is been a decent snowstorm. It has grounded flights. It's docking ferries, and you're out and about. What has this been doing to the roadways?
Well, I can tell you it's snarling up traffic. You can see this person spinning here behind me. This, I think it's a Honda. No, not that I'm picking on Honda. Any cars would be spinning along these roadways this morning, especially if you don't have winter tires. And, you know, you're right, Murph. This is a storm now, number 4, I think, in downtown Vancouver for the season. We haven't even made it to the holidays yet. I remember being here last year in January, and I think that was one of the first significant snowfalls at that time. So yeah, some years you get a lot of this in downtown Vancouver, some years you don't. This is definitely that classic La Nina year so far. But yeah, I mean, you know, traffic is moving. You can see though it just takes a little bit of an incline here, and this person's going to try and take a run at it a little. There he goes. You can see those tires spinning. So this is the theme across Vancouver, and it's cold too. So if you are trapped, you know, if you can't get up a hill, then you want to make sure that you have your emergency safety kit. Definitely be bundled up because it's cold out here, Murph.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Jacqueline. I mean, temperatures have been around -8 this morning. That is that fluffy snow as well, not the slush like we've seen earlier when temperatures are, you know, around the freezing mark. And, you know, let's just show you some video here. And Jacqueline, you and I were talking, you know, on air and off air. It's there, Abbotsford, and you can see very poor visibility. This is not one of those cases where it's raining in one location and snowing in the other. This is just, it's all snow.
Totally. How many times, Murph, have we been looking at a storm that's coming to the coast, and we're all, you know, back in the forecast center and in the newsroom over the years, and we say, oh, well, you know, it's going to be mixed. It's going to be, you know, sloppy, kind of mixed out with some rain right downtown Vancouver. And most times you got to go into the higher elevation, the higher terrain to actually get substantial snow. Well, you bring in temperatures, like you say, you know, -8, -9, right at sea level. It's all snow. It doesn't matter if you live on a mountain. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go up to Cypress or Seymour. You're getting snow right at the surface. And people seem to be enjoying it. The plows, I actually haven't seen a plow yet, but I'm sure they've been out, but not on some of these side streets. Good morning to you. Are you liking the snow? No, yeah, not so much. She says no. She's not big on it.
No, not so much. Jacqueline, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you again during our live stream. The snow has been falling at a rate of about 3 to even 5 centimeters an hour. This is a look at Surrey, British Columbia, and this was earlier on, and thank you, Brad, for sharing this in. From the city of Vancouver, they were tweeting out that their crews are busy, all priority routes, clearing all priority routes across Vancouver, but they are saying only undertake essential travel. If you must travel, slow down, drive to the conditions. I mean, that should be common sense. If you don't have snow tires, I wouldn't even venture out, and stick to the major routes and plan according to prioritized the treatment plan as well. So, you know, doing what we can. Keep in mind, Vancouver does not have the snow clearing budget like a city of Montreal, for example. So there's all kinds of challenges. Nadine, there's people stuck at the airport. They've been stranded there for hours and hours. Let's talk about how much snow has fallen thus far, and where do we go from here?
Well, you know, Chris, you've been talking about, you know, the city of Vancouver not having the snow clearing efforts like, say, for instance, Montreal. This is impressive snowfall totals. We typically see this in cities like Montreal and Quebec City, but since last night, and Jacqueline was talking about this, it's an all-snow event with freezing levels all the way down to sea level. And these are impressive numbers we've seen since last night. You can see that 25, 30 centimeters of snowfall so far, and it is still going for us. As a matter of fact, let's take you to the radar imagery. Since last night, we've seen those numbers pile up, and it's ongoing for us. But you can see, of course, the outflow winds, a huge component with this storm as well. And we can see those winds coming through the Fraser for us, coming down through Howe Sound, coming down the Strait of Georgia. And this is where we're seeing right now some of the heavier snowfall. It's been pushed southward, so right around, say, South Vancouver Island, the Gulf Islands for us, Victoria. We are continuing to see that snowfall for us this morning. I head on to the mainland for us. It's through the Fraser and southward where we are picking up that snowfall. So this is really going to continue for us this morning, but eventually things should be easing off as we continue into the afternoon. But there are a couple of areas, though, that we still have to watch out for. So you'll see into the interior, we've got that snowfall continuing, but still looking at some outflow winds for us coming across the strait. East Vancouver Island as we continue through the rest of today, and even as we head into tomorrow, those winds butting up against the east side of Vancouver Island still bring us some snowfall through that region. So looking at perhaps some snowfall numbers still ongoing for East Vancouver Island. We'll send it outside now to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, earlier that young lady was not impressed with the snowfall. What about this gentleman here?
Well, I've met an Albertan, so he is a professional. He knows cold. Andrew, you know snow. Are you enjoying this morning? You're just visiting here.
Really nice, yeah. I just woke up to it. I was out wandering around yesterday. I'm not driving, so I don't have to worry about that part of it. Driving in snow in Vancouver is a difficult task, even for somebody who grew up in snow.
Well, you lived here for 12 years as well.
I did, yeah.
And have you seen, snow? I mean, it's pretty rare.
It is rare, but, when I was here, we did have I work in theater. We had a show shut down because of a bad snowstorm. And it's pretty hard to get a Broadway show to shut down for a night. So it was a bad day. So
I'm an ex-musical theater singer.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We could talk theater. Let's forget about the snow. Let's go. So tell me, how long are you in town for?
I'm just here for a couple of days, just out to visit a friend who's not doing well.
How about the temperatures back in the prairies? Pretty bitter.
Yeah, it was cold when I left, and now it's gotten colder, and I'm not looking forward to going home, but it is what it's Canada in the winter.
All right. Well, listen, you'll probably have a white Christmas, I assume, when going back home.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Right. So, good.
Good. Well, thanks for chatting with us, Andrew, and be careful out on the roadways today. All right, guys, there you go. When you speak to an Albertan, they know cold. They know snow. This is no big deal to them.
They definitely know the snow and the cold. That certainly has been the case for us on the east side of the Rockies, on the west side of the Rockies, that we have been dealing with that Arctic outflow for us. And that is going to continue for us, although the moisture will wane, and so that's why we'll see some of that ease off for us. A bit of a reprieve. I know folks want some good news in terms of the temperatures. That changes for us as we head into the weekend. So this is going to be a story that we'll be picking up on as we head into the weekend. But for right now, though, we're still talking about the Arctic air. We're still talking about the snowfall. We're going to send it over to Melinda Singh right now. Melinda, you are at the Storm Center desk. Update us now on what's been going on.
Look at the current temps and the wind chill factors across the prairie provinces. Some areas getting upwards to into the minus 30s. Some areas even recorded earlier this morning. I remember us talking about this off camera. Getting into the minus 50s, that would be the wind chill factor. So another few days of seeing this cool Arctic air, and like Jacqueline mentioned as well, doesn't matter where you are across BC, temperatures are well below freezing, so many of us are seeing that snowfall. We do also have widespread extreme cold warnings. These have been issued by Environment Canada, where the temperatures and wind chills are definitely well below minus 40. And this will continue into this week. Like Nadine mentioned, we are going to be seeing a bit of a reprieve as we head into the Christmas holidays. But I do want to talk about the winds. Nadine did mention that we are getting the winds coming out over the Fraser, over Howe Sound, and we are looking at some stronger wind gusts, especially for those areas like Victoria, gusts upwards to 44 kilometers per hour, 67 for Race Rocks. Not as strong of a wind across the lower mainland, but that will change as we head into our Wednesday afternoon. We are going to be seeing those stronger winds pick up in intensity. Here's Vancouver, for instance. We'll be seeing those winds gust upwards to 50 kilometers per hour. But areas like Victoria, they'll be seeing those stronger winds gust upwards to 60 to possibly 65 kilometers per hour. So with the potential to see some snowfall continuing, Nadine, into our Wednesday, we could be looking at the potential for some more blowing snowfall as well. But taking a look at the 7-day forecast, we are looking at the potential to see more precipitation in the forecast, whether that be snowfall or rainfall. Murph, we are looking at temperatures rebounding, especially across Vancouver.
The next storm system is going to be emanating closer from the Hawaiian Islands, so that will change that snow to rain and raise those freezing levels. Just want to share you a photo. Ryan Voutilainen took this one, and beautiful gas town. That's always been one of my favorite places in Vancouver, and it looks just magical there. If you don't have to drive in it, it is very picturesque, very beautiful. But this is coming out of YVR, talking about the airport situation there, and this is the update from 7:30 this morning. The winter storm and severe snowfall has an unprecedented impact on flights and operations, with mass cancellations, and travel continues to be significantly impacted this morning, and we anticipate cancellations to continue through the day and even the week ahead. So the bottom line is, you got a flight coming in or a flight going out, call ahead as opposed to just showing up at the airport, because there's been a lot of people who've been stranded. Okay, Jacqueline Whittle, you are in the middle of a winter wonderland, and I know you've been chatting with some people and reading some tweets and kind of getting the feel of maybe how people are feeling about this latest blast of snow.
How you feeling about the snow?
Terrible.
He said terrible. He didn't even have to think about that. He just said terrible.
He didn't even
and he kept
stop
walking.
for the interview.
Nope. He's like, see ya, this is horrible. I want to show you the type of snow here before I read a few tweets, because people, thank you very much, everybody, for getting back to me on Twitter with your responses. I wanted to talk to people on social media to see if, how they like the snow. But before I do that, I want to just show you the type of fluffy snow. So 1 second. Okay, here we go. Oh, geez, I'm all tangled up here with gear. Okay, look at this. So, we talk a lot about, making snowmen, and there's going to be a lot of kids that unfortunately might be disappointed with this, because it is that kind of light and fluffy snow that will not stick together. There's not a lot of, heavy moisture content within this snow. It's easy to shovel. I'm watching people shovel here at the hotel that I'm standing out in front of, and it's easy to move around, which is nice on the back, but not great for building snowmen, unfortunately. But I want to read a few tweets, as I mentioned. So I asked last night, whether you like the snow, whether you like the cold, which one's worse, which one's better. Someone by the name of Hair Buns and Hat Trick says, love the snow, preferably in small amounts. The cold/wind chill, on the other hand, makes walking the dogs more challenging. Cold, however, opens up the opportunity for outdoor skating rinks that every Canadian hockey kid dreams of. And I thought, boy, that's really nice, right? Maybe there's an opportunity for people here in Vancouver to even get a backyard rink going for a couple days even before it warms up, Murph.
Absolutely. Jacqueline, so glad you're part of the program, the live stream. We're going to check in with you again. That's important stuff, relaying the type of snow as well. This is very slippery snow. We know there's a lot of bridges, ramps, and hills in and around the Metro Vancouver area, so that's going to be very problematic. Here's a look at Surrey here. Yeah, brushing off the car, but as Jacqueline was saying, at least this snow's relatively easy to push around, but there's just so much of it. Just want to mention here also that there's a lot of cancellations on ferries as well this morning, so between Tawasin and Salt Spring Island. Also, the 6:15 and 8:25 sailings of Vancouver and Nanaimo back and forth, they will depart when it's safe to do so, and between Victoria and Vancouver, the 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. sailings were canceled, and same thing, they will depart when it's safe to do so. So having a real impact as well on getting around, Nadine, whether it's by air, by sea, or by land.
Yes, Chris, and I suspect that despite the fact that the snowfall will taper off as we continue through later on today, because we'll still be dealing with some outflow winds, some of that snow will be blowing around, so that will make for reduced visibility on the roadways. But if we take you to the radar imagery here, we're still seeing quite a bit of snowfall across the lower mainland, from the interior stretching through the Fraser Forest, where, as a matter of fact, south of the Fraser, that's where we're seeing some heavier intensity snowfall for us right now. And then if we skip across the strait and head into South Vancouver Island, where we've already picked up some significant snowfall totals, we're still getting to some of that. You can see that outflow pattern there for us coming across the Gulf Islands and straight into Victoria, where we're slowly seeing the back edge of that snowfall move out of the region. But again, still anyone doing any traveling through the lower mainland and heading up the Fraser, even heading up toward the Coquihalla Highway, that's going to be quite a treacherous drive for us. In terms of what we can expect moving forward for the next few hours, you'll see there we're still looking at that snowfall through the mainland, but we're paying particular attention to still some outflow winds for us coming across the strait. That'll continue to bring us some snowfall across extreme southern Vancouver Island, east side for us, so heading up the Malahat and even heading up to what, the Campbell River region for us as we head into our Wednesday, despite the fact that most of the snowfall is done. Just some of that moisture coming across the strait there. Heading outside now to Jacqueline. You've been tracking the snowfall. Jacqueline, I've got a question for you. When we last spoke, you were talking about, the backyard rink and perhaps that snow not being able to make a snowman. But you ski, you snowboard. Is this good powder?
This is what we call champagne powder. This is the kind of powder that you only get in the interior, Nadine, when you go high elevation, right? Because you get that really cold temperature to support that light and fluffy snow. This is perfect skiing weather. Like if you had a set of cross-country skis, you could cross-country ski downtown Vancouver right now because it's perfect. It's very easy to get around. Not that I recommend that, but it is a really nice light and fluffy snow. But here's the thing, even though that's a bonus, even though that's a good thing, and if you go up to Cypress and Seymour, it's going to be the same type of snowfall. You go up to Whistler, you go into the interior. But here's the thing we really need to be careful about. You mentioned the Coquihalla Highway and even along the Trans-Canada and, all those Highway 8, Highway 3. Be careful out there because not only are the conditions going to be really bad on those highways, blowing, drifting snow, but it's cold. Okay, so if we have a -8 or a -9 at sea level, then we know that as we go up in elevation, and I was at the Coquihalla Summit yesterday, you're going to be into the -30s likely. In fact, I was on the Okanagan Connector yesterday at the highest elevation at the Panas Summit, and it was about -33 with the wind chill up there. So core temperatures -26, -27. So very, very cold, dangerously cold. And for a lot of folks on the coast, we're not necessarily used to thinking about, those temperatures. Like I'd even be curious what the temperature is as you go up to Seymour, Cypress, Whistler, those areas. It's a cold one.
Yeah, certainly, Jacqueline. Focusing with you yesterday, you posted, or at least last night on your drive, you posted, what it was like for your drive coming down. I want to ask you, though, traveling from the interior out toward the coast, in terms of the storm events that you've covered so far, how does this one rate with regard to some of the snowfall events and the snowfall conditions that you've traveled in?
Right. Well, I was in a lull yesterday before the main event for this event started. However, I was on the Coquihalla, I was on the Trans-Canada after the weekend snow. So I was right in between both events. So they had the roads very plowed and everything was open. There wasn't any stops for any sort of avalanche control or anything that I heard of. I think I did read, though, that along Trans-Canada near Golden was shut down last night. Might even have been for more construction. But there have been some closures for sure, but not like the last storm, Nadine. The last storm that I was here for, which was only, I think, about maybe 4 weeks ago. I think it was November 18th, if I recall. Very different kind of snowstorm. First of all, it was one of the early ones. It was one of the first substantial snows for Vancouver in particular, but it was that slushy kind of snow. This is much easier to get around on, because even if it's not plowed, at least it's very firm, if that makes sense. You're not in that sloppy slush stuff where you're spinning and spinning. It's still, we need the plows out and they'll get there. In fact, I think I just saw one and heard one. But a lot of the side streets, it's going to take a little while to get those cleaned up. But a different type of snowstorm, easier on the backs. The big thing we got to think about in downtown Vancouver today and into the next few days as we deal with these cold temperatures is, giving someone a hand that might need a hand with some shoveling, but also giving someone a hand in need that is out in the cold. It is said that there is nearly over 3,000 people that are on the streets here in Vancouver. I had a chance to speak to a wonderful organization this week called the Union Gospel Mission about their efforts and their opening arms to the vulnerable population. And it's these types of events that is so hard to see these people that are out there literally trying to stay alive. So our hearts go out to them, and it is the holiday season. Give where you can.
Yes, that is definitely a good reminder for us, Jacqueline, especially with these sort of temperatures that we haven't seen in quite some time, and with the temperatures continuing to be on the cold side as we head into the overnight. You can see there as we take a look at the radar imagery for us, that snowfall still a factor for us, an all snow event, despite the fact that things, the moisture will be easing out, Melinda, as we continue through later on today. We are still looking at the cold hanging around at least for another, say, 24, 36, 48 hours before the next system arrives.
Yes, Nadine, I was looking at our forecast that we had given out to the public, and some areas exceeded that as well. We forecasted 10 to 20 centimeters across Vancouver, and including the lower mainland. So far, we have seen 25 centimeters for Vancouver, 30 for Victoria as well, and Nanaimo, and many more places has seen quite a bit of snowfall, and it'll start to taper off as we head towards the early parts of the afternoon. But like Nadine mentioned, we are going to be looking at more moisture impacting potentially our holiday plans as we head and gear up for the Christmas holidays coming up as well. But we are looking at multiple rounds of moisture that will be making its way in across BC South Coast into the coming week and into the next week as well. Freezing levels as of right now are at that freezing mark, which means temperatures are well below freezing like we saw earlier across Vancouver, but they are going to be rising as we head into our Friday, into the weekend, and that means if we do get precipitation, we could be looking at a rain-snow mix to start off for areas like Thursday and Friday, and then as we get into Saturday, looking at a lot of Pacific flow making its way in. Temperatures will be bumping up around that seasonal mark. We're looking at quite a bit of rainfall in the forecast, especially for areas like Vancouver. But overall, in terms of, we're getting a white Christmas or not, places in the interior will be seeing that, but we could be looking at the potential for the snowfall to melt before we get into Christmas. Chris?
For you before you run away, Melinda, would you rather have 30 centimeters of snow or minus 40-degree temperatures like we've been getting in Prince George this morning, and even minus 50 up in sections of the Yukon and the Northwest Territories?
Chris, I'm a sucker for the snow. You can pile on all those snow all you want, but the cold, it can stay across the West.
Kind of cold as well. And by the way, when it gets really, really cold like that, sound travels. So if you don't like your neighbors across the lake and you're talking amongst your family, you might want to keep it to a whisper. Otherwise, they might hear that. Richmond, British Columbia, Hiker's Image took this photo. Just sharing lots of photos here that have been going on Twitter and video as well. It's been nice warm boots to trudge across the snow, even though it is that fluffy snow. It's everywhere. And North Vancouver RCMP, we're tweeting this out. Important to keep in mind your morning commute that you, besides giving yourself lots of extra time if you must travel, lots of extra space, clear the snow completely off your vehicle. This is not acceptable. Just that little hole in your front window. You can see that. So no, definitely not, no, and still no. You want to clear everything off, and also brush it off the top of your car, so that way when you're driving along, it doesn't just blow off and hit somebody else's field of vision. Lots of gas as well. Make that sure that's full of tank. And I think we've got a guest here, Jacqueline Whittle. You've got a brave soul who's going to stand around and chat with you. Nice.
They said I have a brave person that's going to talk on live television, live stream. So, Jean, nice to speak with you. You just came from the hospital. You were working in the overnight.
Yeah.
What did you think when you came outside and saw the snow?
I was surprised.
Were you?
And yeah, I never see the snow like high up to here.
Right.
And I saw so many coworkers. They hardly move. And so many. We have so many gentlemen, and they just give hands to help.
Oh, so everybody's lending a hand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to see, and that's really great to see. And come on in a little closer here, Jean. How many years have you lived here? I think you said 14?
Yeah, 14 years in Vancouver.
How does this particular season measure up to other years?
It's really surprised me. It's really never see the snow. It's so heavy, and see the road condition is like totally very dangerous for the driver and very dangerous for everyone walking at the street.
Agreed. You were telling me that there was one season you didn't even see a single snowflake until late in the year, but this year we've already seen 4 or 5 events.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I really, what I say, I just pray to God. I said, how can I reach to the hospital? How can I go to work, right?
And you just have to walk, at least you don't have to drive. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for your hard work on behalf of everybody here in Vancouver. Okay, that's Jean. So she's making the best of it and walking home from work, Murph.
Now, Jacqueline, have you seen anybody yet with the skis and the ski pole?
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
So sweet. She's so sweet. Bye, Jean.
Jean was awesome. Have you seen anybody yet, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time, out walking around with the skis and the ski poles as opposed to, as the main form of transportation, yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but if I do, I will be definitely getting some video of it. I haven't seen that. And in fact, I haven't really seen any collisions yet. So I feel like because we've had 4 or 5 of these storms, like I have been in one spot, but I haven't even seen a fender bender, nothing, which is great. I think people are just taking it slow. A lot of people probably heeded the warnings that, like, if you don't have to go to work tomorrow, meaning this morning, don't go, stay put. Also, as you had mentioned, Murph, I know we've had lots of cancellations. We've had ferry cancellations and delays. We've had lots of airline cancellations and delays. But a lot of people are maybe not at work, and we know the kids are off for the holiday season. So a lot less congestion maybe on the roads as a whole right before Christmas season.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's a great point and perhaps good timing as well. But for those who, this is also, though, a very busy time for trying to get out. Like yesterday was, I think it was the busiest flying day of the year out of YVR. And there's just been so many delays, Jacqueline. There are so many flights, arrivals or departures. People are being told, don't go to the airport, call ahead, because there's been so many people stranded at the airport because we got delays and outright cancellations to arrivals and departures. So how about just getting out and enjoying the snow? Because like we said, this may not even be around come Christmas, so we might as well have some fun with it.
I know, and that's what's so kind of sad, right, is that they've had so many snow events this season. It would be nice if it could stick around right through the holiday season. But, hey, this is part of living in Vancouver. It's, close to the ocean. As we know, the influence of the ocean always keeps things a little bit more mild. But, that being said, lots of snowfall in the higher terrain to enjoy regardless. So all of this moisture, even though this melts here, it's not going to melt in the ski resorts, right? So a lot of people traveling up to Whistler and, take it easy, though, if you're headed up the Sea to Sky over the next 24 hours. Lots of changeable weather patterns, changeable weather conditions, I should say, out on the roads as you go up in elevation. That's any day of the year across BC in the winter, but especially now. So just take it easy out there.
Well, absolutely. But, this does bode well for the over the holidays for those who have skiing plans. The resorts are going to be in full swing because, even though we're expecting milder temperatures to come, this snow's not going to melt higher up. Jacqueline, thank you so much. We're going to be chatting with you again. Our live stream coverage continues. Just a quick mention that, again, the winter storm has had a huge impact on the ferries and the flights as well, obviously on the roadways. Going to show you some video here to share with you. And this was in Abbotsford earlier this morning, and Ryan Voudelainen, who's been out all night and through the morning, he was describing this as near blizzard conditions because of the whiteouts, poor visibility, and at times the snow was falling at a rate of 3 to 5 centimeters an hour. And also, on Vancouver Island, from Nanaimo down to Victoria, there have been reports of about 30 centimeters of snow. For those of you who live in Victoria, longtime residents, you may be recalling that December of 1996 when 64 centimeters of snow fell from December 28th and 29th. That was going down in the history annals as Whitemare. Well, we're not quite there, and here's also, we've been talking with Jacqueline, and this is a good example here that Ryan's showing, that the snow, it's that fluffy snow as opposed to the wetter snow where you can really build a good snow castle or a snow fort out of. But it's slippery out there. Nadine, this type of snow is generally easier to clear, but it is also more susceptible to blowing around. All right. Let's shift gears for a moment, because this is not the only storm in town. There's another one that's brewing just before Christmas, that will have huge travel implications as well.
Yes, I'll get back to the BC story in just a bit, but I want to address a question coming to us from a YouTuber who's been asking, is it going to snow in Toronto? So, like you said, Chris, we are expecting a huge storm to be moving into the region. So we'll take it here and start it for you on Thursday. And you'll see once the system continues to progress into the region, there is going to be rain, there is going to be snow and squalls and dangerous travel conditions across southern Ontario and through parts of northeastern Ontario as well as we head into our Friday. And this is going to continue racing its way up through the St. Lawrence and into Atlantic Canada. So there is definitely some hazardous travel conditions with snow as well as we head into the holiday weekend for us. So stay tuned for that. I think the bigger thing will be anyone doing any traveling before we get toward the actual holiday. Things will be quite dangerous on the roads with the very, very gusty, potentially damaging winds. So we'll be keeping an eye on that system and tracking it as we continue through the next few days as well for Eastern Canada. But also getting back to the West story, we've been tracking the Arctic air. That has really been the focus, tying into that snowfall we have. But we are looking at milder conditions coming in for us as we head into the end of the weekend and to the beginning of next week. So that means that it's going to be a rain story for us with temperatures warming up. And we've been talking about the heavy snowfall values that we've had so far across the region. I want to address as well a question by some of our friends from stateside wanting to know the difference between imperial and metric conditions. So we use the metric standard here where we talk about snow in terms of centimeters, whereas they use imperial like inches in the US. So roughly about 2.5 centimeters is equal to 1 inch. So say, for instance, an inch of snowfall, that's roughly about, say, 2.5, 2 to 3 centimeters of snowfall. So just to address that question from some of our friends stateside. But getting back to the story for the next one coming into the West Coast, you see there, by the time we head into a Friday, we're still looking at some snowfall to start off for us, but waiting in the wings, there is that mixing and there is that rain. So temperatures will be warming up with the next system coming in, Melinda, for us onto the West Coast. So unfortunately, some of the snowfall, if folks want a white Christmas in and around the Vancouver area, that's going to be melting away. But in the interior, looks like we may be hanging on to that snowfall as we head into the Christmas holidays.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tricky forecast for those of us in Vancouver, especially the lower mainland as well. But Jacqueline did mention earlier that she hasn't seen many accidents in her area, but I found this on Twitter earlier. If you want to put this on the screen, this looks like a bus just ran right into a fence or a neighbor's yard there. So unfortunately, some conditions. This is North Vancouver, I believe. The location exactly is Mountain Highway and just north of Dempsey Road. So I hope everyone is okay. And just a reminder to everyone, if you are traveling out on those roads, to make sure that you're taking your time and leaving enough space in front of you and the car in front of you. But let's take it back out to Jacqueline, who is in Vancouver, and she's talking to more streeters and getting their opinions on the snowfall.
Julie, do you like the snow?
Oh, I'm loving it. It's so pretty.
So you don't mind at all, even though it's a little bit chilly, you think it's absolutely beautiful.
I'm from Manitoba.
So this is not chilly.
No, this is okay. Although I haven't lived there for a long time, so this feels like a lot.
Fair. Do you have to shovel it?
No, I'm just walking to work and I can sit in my office and be warm and happy.
Okay, and what about a white Christmas? I don't think you're going to be able to hang on to it because we're warming up, unfortunately. What do you think about that?
My daughter would really like it to stick around, so I'm hoping for her it does.
Okay, I'll try and speak to my friends of the weather gods.
Wonderful.
Okay, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Thanks.
Okay.
Guys, I think some people are happy about the warmer temperatures and some are sad that the snow is going to be melting. But here's a current look at the temperatures and wind chills across southern BC. -8 for Vancouver, feeling closer like -13. So if you are traveling, make sure you are bundled up. -3 for Victoria Harbour, -8 for Campbell River, and even across the prairies, temperatures this morning are even quite frigid. -34 for Saskatoon, feeling closer like more -44. And with these wind chills into the -40s, frostbite can occur within 5 to 10 minutes. So it's definitely good to bundle up if you are heading outdoors. Widespread extreme cold warnings span across Western Canada. Temperatures continue to plunge into the coming days, but relief is on the way, especially for areas across Vancouver. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. We are going to be seeing the potential for some light flurries as we head into our Thursday, Friday, and then more of a rainy pattern, and temperatures will be hovering just slightly below that seasonal mark for this time of year. We'll continue to see that rainfall push in. Why are we seeing this rainfall? Multiple rounds of atmospheric rivers are targeting the BC coast and potentially could be looking like a pineapple express because they are originating near Hawaii, and that's going to be tracking that warmer Pacific flow into areas of BC. I didn't also mention those freezing levels. They are going to be at that freezing mark as we head into our Wednesday and Thursday, and then start to rise as we head later into our Friday, Saturday, and into the weekend as well. But overall, in terms of how much snowfall we have seen so far, Vancouver has recorded 25 centimeters of snowfall. Victoria and Nanaimo has seen over 30 centimeters. So if you are traveling up the Malahat and the highway passes, it is best to keep your distance once again, because lots of these areas have seen quite a bit of accumulations. And like Jacqueline mentioned earlier, there is not many plows on the roads, but they are doing the best that they can. But quickly, I do want to mention that we are going to be seeing some stronger winds, especially for areas like Race Rock, Victoria, along the Straits. Those winds will be gusting upwards to possibly 60 kilometers per hour as we head later into our Wednesday, Nadine. So could be looking at another round of ferry cancellations and or delays.
Linda, yeah, there's a lot to go. Even after the snow is done in terms of its intensity, there's still some other hazards. But you heard Melinda talk about the warmer air coming in. That also means that with rain in the long-range forecast, clearing out those catch basins so that the snow has somewhere to go if there's rain to run off as well. In Vancouver, looking very, very Christmassy, almost like a postcard down in Gastown here. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that. And if you don't have to drive in it, it really is. It is beautiful. I mean, in Surrey, British Columbia, you can see all that the snow piling up on the cars. You want to make sure if you have to get out that you clear all the snow from your vehicle. This is the type of snow that when you're driving along, it can blow very easily off your vehicle and perhaps onto the windshield of someone else and temporarily reducing their visibility. We don't want that. And in Richmond, this is looking quite nice. A personal plea as well is clear your sidewalks for accessible reasons as well. That could be the difference for somebody who uses a wheelchair, of maybe be able to get or not get to where they have to go. Okay, Jacqueline, let's go back to you outside. Now let's talk. First of all, is the wind a bit of an issue? I know it's cold out there and there's certainly lots of fresh snow. Is the wind a bit of a factor at all, or not so much?
Not so much, which is a good thing for people living right downtown in this area. But, I know you guys have been talking about the winds really blowing in parts of the Fraser Valley. I imagine the Sumas Prairie area really blows down that corridor. It would get that outflow wind coming from the interior where I live and out to the coast. That's where you get that cold Arctic air to battle it out with the moisture on the coast. And that's how you get a bona fide snowstorm here in December. Now, despite the fact that it is cold and people are working overtime shoveling today and trying to get out to start their day, it does put you in the holiday spirit, no question. I can just tell there's like a little glimmer in each person's eyes here that it puts you in the mood. It's like if this happened in November, it's one thing, but yeah, it's holiday season time. So the other thing too is that on a more serious note, you mentioned catch basins and making sure those are clear. Great point, Murph, because once all this melts and then we start bringing in 20, 30 millimeters of rainfall in a single day, which is possible into the long range, according to some of the models, and then, a couple days of that. Yeah, I'm not going to throw it out there as a thing, but we got to watch for the potential for flooding because we've had a lot of moisture and we're going to get more moisture, and then all the snow, of course, melting on top of that. Not just here at sea level, but just snow in general melting with all of that rainfall. You bring that into some higher terrain, something to kind of keep an eye on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Jacqueline. And yet, because the next storm system will be emanating more from Hawaii. As certainly this one isn't, but the next one will be, and that will likely be changing snow on Friday to periods of ice pellets and rain, so it could get very sloppy, very slushy. And then it does appear that for, the 24th and the 25th, that will likely be rain. Jacqueline, listen, safe travels out and about. How's the Christmas shopping done? Are you all finished, or is this seeing some of this snow spurring you on that I got to finish up that list?
No, my shopping is done. My wrapping is not done.
Yes.
So now with this snowstorm, this emergency trip to the coast, I'm like, I'm going to have a lot of wrapping to do. But yeah, I'm in good shape.
Well, I'm so glad we were able to get you out of your posh palace in the Okanagan Valley and bring you down to Vancouver to report on
something like that.
Something like that this morning. But it's always a pleasure, Jacqueline. I miss you we miss you terribly here in our Ontario studios. But I'm going to go back down to Nadine Powell, because Nadine, listen, we've been talking about how much snow has been falling, and even as it winds down in intensity, we still have to watch what's on the horizon, because we know that the roads are slippery. We know that there's lots of delays at the airport, and that can have a sort of a domino effect for the hours to come, and perhaps even for some cases even days to come.
Yes, exactly so, Chris, because despite the fact that the snowfall will be winding down later, we still have to drive in the snow that's on the ground. It's still on the windy side. A viewer for us on YouTube, Olitsk, hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, heading back to Vancouver from Big White. You can see there through the interior, we're still dealing with some of that snowfall through the next few hours for us, but eventually things will be easing. So you'll still do have to take your time on the roads, especially as you head through many of those passes for us. And then as we head into this evening, things winding down across much of the lower mainland, but watch there coming off the strait. We still do have those outflow winds, so we'll still be looking at snowfall for us just coming across the extreme southern sections of Vancouver Island, even as we head into tonight and for tomorrow, and then sliding up east side of Vancouver Island for us. So you'll see that's just this one particular area of snowfall that we track, still with some continuation of those outflow winds for us. But again, by the time we head into Wednesday, most areas are on the dry side. But Chris alluded to the next system that will be rolling in for us, and we start this up for you for Thursday afternoon, and you'll see that slowly we start to see some of that snowfall making its way in. But now we're getting into a bit of mix, because this system will be bringing some milder conditions with it. So you'll see they're waiting in the wings for us by the time we head into Friday morning. That is rain, so a lot of that moisture coming in off the Pacific. So the Arctic air is still with us for today, even into tomorrow. But by the time we head into the end of the work week, there you start to see milder conditions coming in now. So our temperatures actually bumping back up to seasonal values for us, and that's where we're actually getting into that rainfall. So taking a look, say for instance, Vancouver, that trend for you heading into the Christmas weekend, the Christmas holiday Sunday into Monday, Christmas and Boxing Day, our temperatures jump up drastically. We're now back up to seasonal values around 6, 7 and 8 degrees for us. So if you want a warmer Christmas, definitely some good news in the forecast there for you. And of course, this is also being reflected in terms of, say for instance, you want to head to the slopes into the coming days. It's always nice when we've got the sunshine and we've got some fresh powder. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be on the cloudy side for us as we head into the coming days. So looks like this snowfall will be coming to an end for us. However, we are still dealing with essentially those gusty winds taking us through the rest of today and even into tomorrow. Some of the snowfall totals we've already seen so far, very impressive for us. So Vancouver, 25 centimeters. And like we saw there on the radar, it is still snowing. So the snowfall rates will be dropping off as we continue through today, but I think this 30 centimeters that we've got for us in Victoria, still a little bit more to add on to that. This is definitely quite the snowfall event for us. Jacqueline, you are out in the snowfall there. We can see it looks very pristine snow behind you. Folks seem to be getting around okay. So how have things been with this event?
Well, you know, it's actually kind of a peaceful feeling downtown Vancouver this morning. It's not that chaotic kind of snowstorm feel like what I remember about 3 weeks ago when we had the last event. Well, I shouldn't say that. They had some snow over the weekend as well. But the first event of the year is always a tricky one, right? For drivers, we all kind of forget how to drive in winter weather. This time people are really taking it slow. And the reason I say it's peaceful, and there's, you know, it's like there's not a lot of wind downtown. So it's just lightly falling snow. In fact, I think it's actually stopped snowing, and there's a bit of a break here. I'd have to look at the radar, but you know, people are just out and about, and I see a lot of shoveling going on. I have seen a few plows as well, but it's actually not bad at all. I mean, here, you know, it's not bad. It's actually a really good vibe downtown. I think it's probably helping to put everybody in the holiday spirit, Nadine.
Yep, Jacqueline, you mentioned that it seems to have stopped snowing. That seems to be the case for us if we just go quickly to the radar for us. There you can see in and around Vancouver, that is coming to an end. And this radar takes us back just about an hour or so. So we time this out and we see it moving out. Still snowing as we head into the interior. Still looking at a bit of that just close to the Gulf Islands. But like I was mentioning, we are looking at still hanging on to some of that snowfall for us as we head through east sections of Vancouver Island into say tomorrow. Taking a look at the widespread shot of what we can expect again through the lower mainland, that will be easing off for us, perhaps East Vancouver Island, hanging on to some of that snowfall and interior sections. That is also expected to be clearing out for you as you continue through the rest of today and heading into your Wednesday as well. But anyone having any travel plans, say from Victoria, heading up east side of Vancouver Island as we head through the rest of today and into tomorrow, despite the fact that the snowfall event is essentially a done deal, we're still looking at some of that moisture being picked up across the strait and dumping off across the east side of Vancouver Island. So travel a little bit still, Chris, on the slippery side as we head into our Wednesday.
Yes, the old strait effect snow. And Nadine, I'm just checking some of the observations around Victoria, and it looks like the intensity of the snow has certainly curtailed, but looks like YYJ could be close to 34 or 35 centimeters of snow. So just want to send something out here. This was a tweet from the city of Vancouver saying that, you know, their crews are busy clearing the snow. Only undertake essential travel. If you must travel, you want to slow down and leave yourself lots of space driving for the conditions, and maybe just stick to those major routes. And usually when it comes to snow clearing, they always prioritize the busiest roads first. And you know, sometimes it takes them a while to get to those secondary routes. So we'll do our own part, you know, clearing our sidewalks and driveways, and hopefully helping people, maybe checking in on our elderly neighbors, making sure they're all right. And you know, at least the wind hasn't been howling. So, and it's not that heavy wet snow that clings to power lines. So hopefully we don't get a whole lot of power outages. I've not checked on BC Hydro, although this day, as we look at some video from Abbotsford, on this day in weather history, it was the worst windstorm in BC Hydro's history there. So as bad as it is, it has been worse, and it's been worse on this day. No less, to quote Chris May, on this day. All right, so we've been seeing some of that snow, and where we are getting the winds blowing up and through the Fraser Valley, that means poor visibility. Jacqueline, we've been talking about how, you know, just if you have to go out, the importance of clearing your snow completely from your car. Like, you know, the little, you know, with the arm, the one little window in the front there, that's not going to cut it. You got to clear it all off. And if you are going to go, because, you know, this is also a type of snow that I always think of those big trucks, you know, but they can't get to the top. When they drive around, it's like they leave a blizzard in their wake because, you know, all the snow comes blowing off that.
No, it's true. It's totally dangerous out on the highways. Make sure you do that. Make sure you clear out your roof, your windshields, just like Murph said. That's good advice. I've got people shoveling around me. You guys are doing a good job. These guys work here at the hotel, and they'll have it all cleared soon. Okay, how are you cold? You have no gloves on. I'm going to give you trouble here on TV. No toque or gloves.
It's not really cold.
It's not really cold?
No, it's not. It's actually quite fresh and enjoyable for a change.
There you go. See what I mean? Everybody's really positive. It's putting in the holiday spirit, right?
We don't get to see enough snow here. So this is, enjoy it while you can, exactly.
Oh, I like like that. That's a great attitude. Thanks for your hard work shoveling. You know, there you go. It is actually about -8, feeling like -9. So he's really tough because I'm not that tough. I'm cold. I got to be honest. I take these mitts. I got to take these mitts off, and my hands are getting really cold very quickly. But no, I do think it's everybody's feeling good about this. You know, it is kind of putting a smile on many people's face. It's a lovely snowfall. It's actually like a postcard downtown Vancouver.
Well, you know, Jacqueline, in my books, you're always going to be tough as nails with a heart of gold. So don't sell yourself short. Great job today on our live stream. Safe travels around.
Thanks, Murph. You too.
And to everybody out there, you know, take your time shoveling this as well. Clear your sidewalks for accessible regions. If you don't have to drive, just hunker down today. Just going to leave you with I also want to thank Nadine Powell and Melinda Singh for joining the live stream. And for those of you who've been watching as well, just to mention one more from the YVR airport, that because of the storm has had, as they quote, unprecedented impact on flights and operations at YVR with mass cancellations. Travel continues to be significantly impacted, and they anticipate cancellations to continue through the day and possibly even the week ahead. So phoning ahead. Just going to leave you with a couple of photos here looking very Christmassy and beautiful. Gastown in downtown Vancouver there. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing that. Lots of snow clearing to go. Remember, we're talking about clearing out your entire snow, helping out your elderly neighbors as well. And in Richmond, well, you know, no one's sitting on that bench right now, but sure enough, this snow too will pass. And in fact, we're already starting to see the intensity of it taper off. All right, that's been our live stream. I hope you enjoy. Of course, on the Weather Network on TV, you can find that we will continue to provide you updates, not only on this one, but on the chill across the prairies and the territories, the very cold, and the upcoming storm that could have big implications on the days leading up to Christmas in Ontario, Quebec, and potentially Atlantic Canada as well. Thanks again.